Welcome back to another episode of the Creative Finance Playbook podcast. I'm your host, Jen, and I am stoked today to have one of our coaching community members here, David McDonald out of Colorado, share his journey of how he finally took the leap, got into real estate investing. And honestly, I hope it inspires you to take some action and know that the only thing stopping you is you. So, welcome, David. I'm so excited that you're here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jen. This is great. I've been with you guys now for about a year, and I have to say, anybody out there listening, it's like Jen and Joe are great. They're top notch. So if anyone is thinking about taking that plunge into real estate, this is a great place to start.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, I want to dive right into your story and what you were doing prior to coming in to our community and what kind of challenges you were faced with getting into real estate investing and kind of the mindset fears, the thought processes behind, taking that leap.
I think mindset is a great topic to start because I keep circling back to it's all about mindset, right? Like even when
Mhm.
you've started and you've gone down the path, to keep that mindset healthy and say, it gets hard, it gets difficult, you hit challenges you didn't see coming, and that mindset is all that you really have to keep going day after day, right? So, what got me started? I was working a W-2 job. It was a difficult job. I have a background in like cybersecurity, IT programming. So these are jobs. They're not 9 to 5 jobs, right? They're like Joe likes to tell his story. His working at the dealership was, it's not it's an 80-hour week a lot of times, right?
Mhm.
If a customer needs help, especially in the cybersecurity world, like they don't call you when the times are good, right? They call you when they're in fire. So you have to
Mhm.
help these people out, and it's stressful. I mean, there's some things I love about it, but there's some things that it wears on you after a while, and you think, you know, um, in addition to a career like that, which I do enjoy, it's kind of nice to have some other thing, some other hobby, some other way of looking at your future and saying, I'm not getting any younger, and there's only so many years I can put out fires, right? So
Mhm.
I think I had to look at what else was out there and what interested me and that I was curious about doing. And real estate was always one that I talked about with my wife for years. Like, hey, we should do this, we should do that, but finally was like, okay, when never comes unless you make it come. So you just have to sit down one day and say, this is it, we're going to do it.
So taking that leap, you decided to were you doing any investing prior to us, or was this the first time you were like, okay, I'm gonna just jump in and see where this takes me?
We've done like lipstick flips before, nothing that involved. It's kind of like doing things on the side, right? When you have
Mhm.
some spare time. But it's one of those things where I kind of think, it's I liked it, but I'm like, okay, well, I would like to do it more, but I'd also like to know a little bit more about what other options are out there, because you guys have talked before about, financing can be difficult, and building a team is definitely one of those things. Like, you can't do it all, right? You have to build a
Mhm.
team around you that can help you and support you and you can trust. So I think that that is one of those things where the the team is what's going to carry you through over the long term. And when you're just doing it by yourself, it's like, that you can easily get overwhelmed with it.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even with the team too. It's like it's always like you said earlier, mindset. I feel like getting into it, looking back, the mindset was not as hard as when you're in it and now you've grown the team and now you're the leader and you're showing up and you have to really carry that torch. So it's funny because you think one thing and then when you get into it, you realize like it's a real progress, like to keep yourself up and up, pouring into yourself, showing up to the calls and support, and it's just having people pour into you is just as important so that you can pour into other people too. So, as
Yeah.
far as the team goes, like what does your team look like? How are you navigating? I know you're mid flip right now. Are you close to finishing that? Well, I want to hear more about that project you've got going on.
I'm closer to the beginning than I am to the end of this current flip. The I secured the property back in January, and it's in Sterling, Colorado, which is about 100 miles northeast of Denver. Very rural area. but it's kind of like a regional center. So, the next stop between past that is Nebraska. So there's really not much else out there, right? It's farmland. And it's one of
Yeah.
those towns that's kind of like supports a big rural community. And, it's like a lot of these small towns in America. There's like a lot of properties that need updating, and a lot of, it really depends on what industries in the area. But what I love about Sterling is there's a great community, and they're really there's like a fund there where they're investing in parks and rec centers and libraries. So what I loved about the property that I found was it's literally steps to, like, walking distance to the local library, walking distance to the community center. Like, it's a great little family, a little neighborhood for families. And I see Sterling as like a tremendous opportunity. Like, this is obviously my first one going through there, so it's got to sell, right, at the end of the day. But if I can sell this property and get moving, I'm more than happy to buy more in that area, because they're relatively competitive price, Colorado wise, because Colorado tends to be a more expensive market. But
Hmm.
I think that if I can make this one work, I'll surely be back and be doing more in that community. And yeah, just and the other challenge I find with Sterling is access to contractors,
Hmm.
because and I've said this to you and Joe before, but the rural communities have, it seems like there's a group that have been well established, and they're booking 6 to 18 months out. That's how few good contractors there are there. And then,
Yeah.
so if you're looking at people who are, if there's a contractor that's available right now, then it kind of puts up a little bit of a red flag, especially if you talk to them for a while. Sometimes it's like, what, why are you available, right? And
Right.
then the interesting thing about, the more I've like been posting blue ads and talking with people in the community, it's like you get to know, it's not a big town. It's maybe 15,000 people or something. People have told me, yeah, watch out for this person or watch out for that person, because it's a small town dynamic. Where's the truth in there is always a good
Hmm.
question, because maybe someone's got an argument with this person that's lasted 10 years. I don't know, and I'm not going to get into the politics of it, but
Right.
just, you have to be a little bit careful, a little bit cautious as you move. I mean, that's my nature. In If you're trained to be in things like cybersecurity, you're trained to think about risk all the time, and you're trained to think about, cautious moves, calculated moves, right? So it's sometimes I got to turn that part of my brain off when I want to be a real estate investor, because you got to move, right? You got to move sometimes.
The reptile brain, we call it. Yeah, because I'm definitely the thinker brain and I overthink and analyze. And Joe's already like on step three. So,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
it is important. I think you're bringing up a great point because you're not at this property every day, correct?
Hmm. That's right.
So
Yeah.
how are you managing those contractors or the work getting done? Because I think that fascinates a lot of people of like, oh, I could never do a flip if I'm not able to check on it every day or at least every week, and really have that constant like system in place. So if
Right.
that's
Hands
not
on.
available, yeah, if you're not boots on the ground yourself, how are you mitigating all of that?
Well, number one, interviewing people and getting a good feeling. If you don't get a good feeling on day one, I'd say avoid, right?
Hmm.
You want to get into business with people that you know, well, not necessarily know, but you trust, right? There has to be a slight leap of faith, I think, to get involved with someone. So the way I protect myself and hedge on that risk is I'm starting off with small contracts to begin with. So, for instance, it's a 1919 house. Pretty much everything's wrong with it. So, one of them is it needs new plumbing and electrical, and the basement is the lath and plaster. So, I said, look, this one particular contractor said, look, I need some demolition done, and they're starting this week. And I said, look, uh, it's fairly low cost and fairly low, you know, uh, risk for me, because I mean, how hard is it to rip out a ceiling, right? I mean, just do this stuff and get it done and show me that you can do it. You can show up on time. It gets done on budget and contract. Okay, let's take the next step.
Yep.
My training from the IT world, where I dealt with a lot of vendors, is you start them off small on small contracts, and if you can do well, move up to the next step, and then the next step, and the next step. So I've got my GC almost nailed down. He's my guy that's booking 6 months out, but these smaller handyman guys and people that can do things that are not like highly skilled, highly technical, I can get them started. And if you prove yourself, I'll move you to the next step and the next step. So I think that's a good way to approach risk from someone who might not be comfortable with that, because it surely was like difficult for me to figure out, okay, what can I do to make this work with a
Hmm.
level of risk that I'm happy with. And that was one of them, is like, give you a small job. If you pass, you get the next small job. So literally my SOW is a laundry list of things you can pick off that list. Hey, if you want to do that job, sure. Show me some references that you can do it. If you, and then I'll take a chance on you. So literally it can get down to, pay per job or pay per, if you're going to go by an hourly rate for, say, a handyman, I need 10 jobs done, here they are. You can do it that way too. I think it lowers my risk. Like, I'm not putting out several, tens of thousands of dollars all at once on one person. I'm giving you a laundry list of things to do, and you can prove yourself that way.
I love that. And SOW, if you heard him throw that out, that stands for
That statement
scope.
of work. Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah, scope
of
or
the of
statement
the
of work. Yep.
yeah. So let's, like, the house I bought's a 1919 build. Craftsman. It's got a lot of nice bones. It's got some nice design to it. But everything needs to be replaced. The plumbing, like, plumbing lasts 50 years. It's, twice the age of where the plumbing should have probably been replaced, right? And you can see, like, the mishmash of technologies they've used over the years, right? And same thing with the electrical. And talking with some of the realtors in the area, a lot of people who are buyers get scared and say, they walk in and they see ungrounded wiring, the outlets with the two prongs only. And it's like, oh, they just walk back out the door and say, yeah, I've got kids. I don't know if I want to take that risk, right? So I thought, well, where do I put the money? Where do I get the best bang for my buck? And I got a good enough deal on it that I can put some money into this thing, that I know that whoever the buyer is of this property is going to get a good home. My ideal buyer would be like, a couple with a small family, maybe one or two kids just starting out, and they need a, a well-priced home that's going to fit everybody. And I'm not doing the basement. And the way I see it is like, okay, there's enough room for everybody upstairs. It turnkey. It looks like a beautiful home. And when you're ready, your kids are teenagers and you want to create some space down in the basement, you guys can go refinish that when you're ready. So
Hmm.
I think that's, you've got to find a way to approach the budget that you have and use it as wisely as possible to try to get your ideal buyer to love that home the minute they walk in.
I love that. I think that's really powerful because one mistake I see happen a lot, and I think it's partially due to the shows, the HGTV, fixer uppers and the flipper flops. It's, everybody wants the Joanna Gaines kitchen and, marble this or that. And sometimes the area that you're buying in doesn't warrant that level. So it's really important to watch where you're spending your money and how you're going to get that return on it. So I think that that's such a important lesson, especially for new investors who maybe want to get into their first fix and flip. Like, you don't have to make it, like, you shouldn't either, especially if it's just like an average home in a nice area. Like, just make it nice, right? Make it safe. Like you're saying, like, update the
Yeah.
plumbing, fix the electrical work, make it presentable, but, don't overprice the area because that's where I see a lot of people just really get stuck and hurt, honestly.
Yeah, 100%. The thing that I realized when I looked at this property was, okay, it's a nice town, but, like, yeah, there's not $1 million homes, right? These homes are
Hmm.
selling somewhere in the range of 250 to 300, depending on how nice it is. So really what you're up against is, what's the nicest house for sale right now, and equal that or just slightly better. And most of the homes, it's like, okay, it's simple stuff they could fix when you see them listed. Like, okay, you've got brown carpets and blue paint. It doesn't really look great on Zillow, right? But if I make it like, okay, if, say what's trendy now is, say, black and white kind of contrast, or things, where, I'm by no means a designer and can make things look beautiful, but I can see pictures of what I like and say, okay, well, what does it cost to put white paint on the walls and, black window trim and that sort of thing that people love right now? A lot of that stuff doesn't cost a lot, right? And if I'm like, I'm not going full marble and all that stuff in the bathrooms and kitchen. I'm like, No, there's gonna be butcher block countertops. I'm gonna make it look really nice, but it's
Mhm.
gonna be builder grade. And for that area, that's gonna work just fine.
Mhm.
Because, I don't know about you, but when I bought my first home, it was a town home and there was nothing special about it. The big upgrade I made when I was selling is like, oh, I'm going to put a granite countertop in because whoever buys it, granite's kind of trendy now. So I think, it'll help move my property. In the end of the day, it didn't help move my property. What helped move my property was, the price of it in that neighborhood,
Yep.
right? So,
Mhm.
but these are things you learn as you go. But that's a good point. You have to match the finish to the neighborhood that the property's in, and you have to have a mindset of who is buying this house.
Yep.
Is it the retiree? Is it the newlywed couple with no kids? Is it someone with two kids that's been living in an apartment as a rental for a while? Like, what market are you shooting for? And I think that having that idea on the outset when you're beginning this project helps you choose what materials you're going to have. Helps you choose, what am I fixing? Right? How many bedrooms does this need to sell in this neighborhood in a reasonable amount of time? Those sorts of things, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And so how did you find this property? You want to share a little bit of is there a seller story behind it? Was it off market, on market, and kind of just paint that picture when you first got into
Yeah,
it?
it was a blue ad.
Yeah.
So I have so I'll give you a quick backstory. You guys love to preach the blue ads, the Facebook leads that will they're free leads basically, right? And me being in IT, because a lot of IT people are like this, is oh boy, how can I automate this, right? Because then I don't have to sit down every day and post 5 blue ads, right? So I see this guy on Facebook who's leaving the state and says, "Hey, I've got 16 Facebook groups across the state, and I don't want to manage them anymore. Any takers, right?" So right away I jumped on it. I'm like, okay. So I literally got 16 Facebook groups across the Front Range of Colorado,
For free?
and all for free.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, he didn't want any of it. I'm like, an audience there. Like there were only maybe, at best a couple thousand people in the groups. But I mean, since then I've grown them to double that. And that's been maybe what you said, 12, a little over 12 months, right? So of course, Facebook gives you the opportunity to like they call it admin assist, and you can automatically post um, in your groups. And because I control the groups and no one's there to say yes or no what I can post, I just have these every day. There's a new ad that comes out. So and it's funny because you guys would say, okay, maybe you're going to post, hey, I'm looking for a house. My wife and I are looking for a house. We want to buy one in the next 2 3 weeks. And then there's other ones that'll be like, hey, any Airbnb hosts tired of being, in the short-term rental business, we're buying, or tired landlords. There's different ones you can do. So I basically have one of those coming every week or every 2 weeks, and people will answer. And I thought, they're going to get used to it. But literally, people answer it. I think they get comfortable. Hey, Dave's not a big scary monster. He's not this big scammer. Every I see this every week in this ad whenever it comes out. So I'm like, all right, it it it's picking up momentum as time goes on without me
Wow.
lifting a finger. So that's really nice. So I like that. But that's how I found it. And yeah, the seller reached out, and she was desperate. She bought it as an investment property with another partner. It sounded like there was an issue between the partnership, and the partner left, and she was left holding the bag with this property. So she's like, I don't have the skills or the know-how or the desire, I guess, to keep going with it. So we reached a deal, and I bought the property, and yeah, we closed. It was the end of December, early January, I think, is when that one closed. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So
Now, I can't say I've ever had anyone share that hack ever before. So if you're listening, I hope you caught what Dave just shared there. Because, in a sense, I've always heard like, the best CEOs are lazy. And by no means is that lazy, because obviously you're putting in the work, but to set it and forget it and automate it, like that is just incredible to me that you are just able to think of that. And then also, I think there is something I was thinking about this the other day. We're just in this like new type of world where everything is just like it's almost kind of becoming overwhelming. So people really do like consistency. So the fact that you said like it's starting to pick up speed because every week you're posting it, it's like I feel like as humans, we're kind of craving that, that's that sense of like, okay, like, yeah, like this is what happens every week. This ad comes out, and maybe someone has a house they're looking to sell. So I just think that was super powerful too.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, every time I look at it, keeping with the thread of laziness, I think I could be posting, short videos and other things that can go in as well, just to not say, hey, I want to buy your house, but more like, hey, here's why I'm not a scam, or here's why this actually, helps everybody, or, you know, let's interview someone who I've bought this, like this woman that I bought the house from. What I really should be doing is interviewing her, saying, "Look, you were in a tight spot, and I helped you out. Can you talk about it a little bit?" And
Mhm.
I've used her a little bit for some of the marketing, but I could do more, obviously. But I think people just did need to hear those stories to get comfortable with, you know, what is it you do? And oh, okay, it's scary. There's no realtor involved. What do I do? No, this is perfectly fine. It's perfectly legit. In fact, it probably existed before there ever was a term of realtor, right?
Mhm.
So you you just need to kind of consistently give that message over and over and over again. That's one thing I think I've learned, not only from you guys, but also just, with my interest in, entrepreneurship in general, is that some of the best CEOs are nothing but just bullhorns for the same message over and over and over and over again, right? It's the
Mhm.
people who work for them that do, a lot of the work under the hood that you never see, you know, like you said, the tip of the iceberg versus everything that's under the water, right? And um, for me, I'm pretty much a one-man show at this point. I had a VA for a while who was helping, but didn't work out. But I am from an IT and programming background, and I'm trying to use more tools to automate as much as possible. Like, it's either the tedious work that I don't want to do, or like you said, the lizard brain kind of stuff that just drives me nuts if I have to do it. Because there's a blessing and a curse with having like technical skills. Is it's hard to turn on that lizard brain sometimes, because there's other ways that can be done. If I invest this much time, I can get an IT solution that's going to just automate that for me, and I don't have to think about it, right?
Mhm.
And go from there. But it's a trade, right? It's good to go into these groups and just interact with them sometimes, just to kind of see what people are feeling, and what's going on in that community. And you hear stories all when you see that, so that adds value too. So you can't automate everything.
No.
You have to be hands on at some level. But I think for anybody who starts this and gets to that point in their investing career where, boy, I've got a job and a wife and kids, and boy, I like to exercise sometimes. And then there's always like these other jobs that you never seem to get to. Well, if you can just pick one and automate that one that's really bugging you right now, there's value there. Because,
Mhm.
anything that keeps that momentum going, that keeps you engaged and keeps your mindset in a positive space, I think has a lot of value.
100%. I love that so much. And it was actually leading down to the path of my next question was going to be, so you had the blue ad go out, which says, does anyone have a house for sale, not market ready? I'm looking to buy one. And the seller reaches out and says, yes, I have this house. I don't want, partnership went bad. Is this where did you do the messaging back and forth, asking the questions? Did you hop on a phone call? Did you bring that call to one of our team members here? I can't remember exactly how you were able to close that deal, or which were you able to just do the call yourself? Because I know some people are so scared to do that. So I just want to take everyone down that path that you went down.
Yeah, no, I did it myself.
Yeah.
That I think this was back in August of last year is when I first started to talk to her. And it's kind of funny because I did the script, and we had a conversation, and clearly she was literally the first 10 out of 10 motivation scale person that I actually met, right? I've met some sevens and eights and nines, but she was 100% on the 10 scale. So really the bottleneck wasn't convincing her to sell me the house. It was more like, boy, I got to get all my ducks in a row to get everything ready to get this done, right? At first, I was going to wholesale it, because I thought, oh, boy, a 1919 build, am I really ready to take on that level of work? Because old homes, everything's wrong with them, right? There's
Hmm.
a fine line between an investment property you can make money and a money pit, right? So I'm trying to figure out. is this juice worth the squeeze? But I thought, well, I can always wholesale it to someone who's maybe more experienced in flipping, and that probably would say, "Oh yeah, no problem." So first it was a wholesale, but I was having trouble finding a buyer, and was I don't know what the word I should use is, but I was maybe too timid and really pushing to try to find like a buyer, like where we could co-wholesale it or something like that, right? I probably should have in hindsight, but you know, sometimes you make decisions and you got to live with whatever the consequence is, right? So I said, okay, look, I'm going to buy it, and then she was like, okay. Um, we went back and forth, and I finally decided to buy it using my IRA. So it took me a little bit of time to get all of that
Mhm.
converted, which is another bit of a time penalty. So, but I was really rushing to try to get it done by the end of the year and get it all tied up. And it was the month of December was a real sprint just to get all of those things, because I had a 401k. I didn't have it set up in the IRA. I didn't have my checkbook LLC set up. I didn't have any of those entities in place ready to go. So it was really just me reaching out to the attorney and getting it all set up quickly as I could, and then getting to the closing table as quickly as I could, so she didn't get cold feet. And anyway, she was happy. I mean, I still literally text her every once or twice a month, because she was trying to buy a house and she was asking advice and what should I do here and what should I do there. And yeah, I mean, literally, I talk to this woman all the time. She sent me a thank you card after the whole thing was, thanking me for getting out of this tough spot. So
Well, I
I think
hope
I
that's on
shared
your
that.
business page, David. You
I
better
did.
have the thank
That's the
you.
one thing I'm listening to you. It's like, yeah, come on, you got to promote yourself. I did put that on my business page. I put a picture of the thank you card. So she's a sweet person.
Oh my gosh. So unbelievable. I don't even know if you have truly counted your wins here. I mean, the fact that you literally did turn into a reptile, you took messy, massive action, you set up everything so that you could do, a deal in an IRA, which I think a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, like that's like another level. I could never. And here you just head down, did it, and you were able to just surround yourself with the right attorneys, people, the company that helped you set up all of the IRA, like, and still help this lady out. So great job. I hope that you're really proud of yourself for just that alone, because I know like a lot of people hopefully will hear this and say like I can do it too, because it does seem overwhelming and really scary if you don't know anything about it, but like you're proof literally that it is possible. And then now you're in mid flip, almost done with it. What would you say your next kind of chapter will be? Will you're still posting these? Well, you're not posting. You've got the posts going out automatically. Are you looking for some more wholesale deals? Are you looking to grow a portfolio? What's kind of the next 5 years looking like for you think?
5 years. Well, I definitely would love that residual income. So I think I'm really going to try to double down on the blue ads and the rent to own strategy, right? So I know you guys preach the lease purchase rent to own, and I know, you know, I hear you guys say periodically, like, okay, you're not going to turn down a wholesale opportunity if it comes. I mean, I literally yesterday just drove up to a place near Windsor to look at a property that I'm probably going to wholesale. Um, they come up, you don't know when they're going to come up, they just appear, and I'm never going to say no. So I'll do it. It's quick cash flow, right? But I do see. I come from a technical background. I love the build piece. So getting into the house, getting my hands on stuff, not necessarily to do the actual work, but like, okay, what is this thing going to look like? What does this market look like? Who's buying this house? What are we going to do in this particular instance? Right? It's kind of fun. It's a project where you get to build things. So um, I don't have to get my hands dirty if I do it right, because that's another advantage of buying 2 hours away is then you're not tempted to go and do those sorts of things, right? Where, I should be focusing on my lizard brain, getting those posts out, not swinging a hammer, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah. So, what does my next 5 years look like? I would love the residual income. I don't know if I'm ready to give up a W-2 just yet, because, you mentioned a little while ago, like people see so much change right now. And, with AI coming out, like in the IT world, there's AI is a fear and an opportunity for everybody, right? Because a lot
Mhm.
of people I know are like, well, am I going to have a job in 18 months, right? When is it going to replace programming, or when is it going to replace like cybersecurity professionals and things like that? And it's like, I think you can use the tools to your advantage. I don't know what the next 18 to 24, and when you say 5 years, I mean, that seems like an eternity now with the changes that are going on in the world. But well, I'm not getting any younger. It'd be nice to have that residual income every month. If I was making what I made in a W-2 just rolling in the door, obviously there's no such thing as passive in real estate, but at the same time, it's like if you can rely on a certain amount per month that's coming in, it's a big pressure off you, right? And you don't have to worry about, like, is my job going to get replaced by AI, right?
Mhm.
Is my uh, do I have to learn a whole other programming language or a whole new set of technology because something new has come along, right? I can rely on that, and that's kind of like feeds the family and keeps the roof over the head, right? That sort of stuff. So that's really my goal in the next, I will say 12 to 24 months, is that reaching that level, right? And I I am searching now for a new W-2 simply because I'm the kind of person, I love the AI stuff because I'm always like, if you know me at all, I'm the kind of person who I like bright shiny objects, and I'm always attracted to something new, and it's like, okay, this is pretty cool. And what I love even more is when I can see an application for it that is near and dear to my heart. So one side project I've actually got is to do a lot of this posting in Facebook using AI agents, because this is like the new thing in AI where it's like, Amazon's got a tool called Amazon Bedrock, which basically you program it on what to do. So I could basically go tell it, post 5 blue ads a day, and randomly pick a bunch of, or methodically pick a bunch of places to put them, right? So instead
Mhm.
of me focusing on the stuff that I don't like to do, I can make a machine go and do those things, or something I would have hired the VA to do anyway. I'm going to pay the same amount of money either in IT costs or in a VA cost, and I can, hey, I can maybe 10x it, right? Instead of me just building it for me, I can sell it to other people too. So one of those things that, sometimes these things turn into little nuggets of gold along the way.
I was gonna say, you might have another little business opportunity there. I know my husband would love to hear to chat more about that, and you might have to definitely capitalize on that because it is like you said, it's scary AI, but it also is really fascinating and cool. But it's just learning how to help us work with it and not be scared of it. But also, it is a reality, like. Yeah, are these jobs going to be replaced? And to know that with real estate, people will always need a place to live, and real estate
100%.
to me is pretty. I mean, the market's going to fluctuate, interest rates are going to go up and down, but people still need homes, and good homes at that. Reliable people like ourselves as great landlords, or investors that are, doing the right work, making sure contractors aren't skimping on the important details and getting it done right. So, well, this has been
Yeah.
such a great chat, David. Oh my gosh. Any final thoughts and words that we can kind of share with everyone?
If you're hesitating to do it, don't hesitate, because you'll hear, if you listen to Jen and Joe's podcast or listen to their messages at all, there's no great time to get into real estate. It's not, what's that saying? It's not the time you get into the market, it's time in the market, right? So just get
Mm.
in, and it's going to be dirty, it's going to be messy, you're going to be scared to death, but take action, and you'll get through it. There is no plan, because the plan that you think you're going to have on day one is going to quickly deteriorate when it doesn't come to fruition. So you're just going to keep plodding through it, and you're going to have some success as you go. Just have some faith in the advice you're receiving and take action, right? It's all about taking action.
It really is. Yeah. And I think that you are definitely going to inspire a lot of people just by sharing your story, your journey, and the messy mess of action, man. That's all I keep going
Messy
back
mess.
to.
100%.
And
It's
yeah.
messy, but you know what? It's necessary. There is no such thing as a perfect plan, because it just doesn't exist. You mentioned a while ago about the market, and I do think like the one thing that's really driving me toward real estate right now is that market volatility, because in my lifetime I've seen the market go up and down many times, but as you say, at the end of the day, people need a place to live. There's basic human needs: feeding yourself and a place to sleep at night, right? And if you
Mhm.
don't have those two things, you got big problems. And um, humanity will always need that, regardless of what the price of a Tesla is, right? So um, it's a market that you can rely on over the long term.
Absolutely. So again, you are in Colorado. Is there any other areas you want to talk about investing where people can reach you if they have a deal? Maybe they could reach out, see if there's any way that you guys could, help each other out with it, or anyone listening that is in the Colorado area.
Yeah, so mostly what I look at is Front Range, Colorado, but I am open to almost anything nationwide. I
Okay.
was looking in Florida and Texas when I had a VA, and they were mostly posting in those regions. Um, I don't know if it's the time or place to get into the nuances of those markets, but I am looking also in the Midwest. So anywhere in the Midwest, if it's east of Colorado, I'm interested. So we got Nebraska, we've got Kansas, we've got Iowa, all those states that between Texas and the Canadian border. I'm actively looking in those markets too.
Well, there you have it. Where's the best place to find you?
You can reach me at perfect rentals. That's my website, and there's a contact page if you want to reach me. And it basically technology guy. It hits all of my stuff, and also on social media. If you go to facebook.com, I think it's /perfect.rentals. You'll find me there as well.
Awesome. I'll put all that in the show notes below. But thank you so much for taking time out of your day, sharing your story. So much action packed in the last year. I really do hope you're proud of yourself. We're pumped for you. I can't wait to see a little bit more of this flip. Hopefully you'll share some more photos on your socials. I'm gonna go stalk your pages right now. Make sure you're keeping up on that. And
Yeah,
again, if you want to
you're
reach
going to get
out,
mad at me for what you find. I
oh dear,
promise I will post more, but yeah, it's that's definitely my Achilles heel is social media.
we got to
I'm
figure out a way to
trying.
automate it. We got to get it automated
I
for you. All
do. That's my
right.
plan. If I'm going to do it, I got to automate it. So there you go. If it's painful, automate it.
If
Yeah.
it's painful, automate it. Well, there you have it, everyone. If you like what you hear and you are listening, make sure you give us a review below. And if you are on YouTube watching, thanks for being here. Be sure to subscribe. And if you have any questions, drop them below. We'll get back to you. Until next time, take care, everybody. Bye bye.
Hi, everyone.